Good morning, friends. Let us start our class. And today is the concluding part of our discussion on the daffodils, written by William Wordsworth. The last part of our discussion. So let us start. Look at the stanza. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Now, based on this stranger, there are some questions. The first one is, what does they refer to? Very simple. They refers to in the above lines are the yellow colored flowers, daffodils. Here they means daffodils. Next comes, why have they been compared to the Milky Way? Milky Way. The answer is the innumerability of the daffodils as they stretched in a never-ending line before him leads the poet to compare them to the Milky Way, which has countless twinkling stars. There are innumerable stars in the Milky Way, and the daffodils that were before the poet were also innumerable, and that's why the poet compared the innumerability of the daffodils to the innumerable stars of the Milky Way. Right? Now, look at the third one. Pick out an example of personification from these lines. Personification. Now, it is clear from the last two lines of the stanza. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Yeah, 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads. Here, tossing their heads means the daffodils were moving their heads in sprightly dance. What is the picture created by this description? The image that is conjured by this description is that of a group of happy dancers tossing their heads happily as they dance. This is the picture. Now, find an example of rhyming couplet from these lines. In the last class, I have discussed on this rhyming couplet, and here it is. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. This is an example of rhyming couplet from this stanza. Next, 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not be but gay in such a jocund company. Now, let us look at the questions. What did the poet see at a glance? Were they really 10,000 in number? The poet saw a host of golden daffodils beside a lake and beneath the green trees. The poet used the figure 10,000 to express the innumerability of the daffodils, not exactly 10,000. That means 10 by 10,000 he wanted to mean the innumerability of the daffodils. Next comes, how did they outdo the waves? Your answer is the way they means the daffodils danced sprightly, seemed to outdo the sparkling waves in happiness, and their beauty appealed to the poet more than that of the glittering waves of the lake. This is the reason. How did they outdo the waves? Next comes, what do the waves refer to? The waves refer to the to in the above lines are the waves of the lake created due to the wind blowing over the water. I repeat, the waves referred to in the above lines are the waves of the lake created due to the wind blowing over the water. Next one. How did the scene affect the poet? How did the scene affect the poet? The answer is the sight of the daffodils dancing happily in the wind appealed to the poet due to its natural beauty and soothing nature. The scenic beauty of the daffodils dancing in the wind near the sparkling waters of the lake captivate and mesmerized him. In this way, the scene affected the poet. Next comes pick out three words that mean being happy. Now, what are the words? One is glee, another is gay, and jocund is also mean being happy. Find two examples of personification from these lines. Already in the last question, we have come to know that 10,000 saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. This is one. And second one is the waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. These are the two examples of personification from these lines. Next, I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. Now let us look at the questions. What is the wealth that the poet is referring to in these lines? What kind of poetic device is this? Let us see what is the answer. The wealth that the poet is referring to in these lines is the wealth of happiness and mental peace that he derives from the scenic beauty of the daffodils. I repeat, the wealth that the poet is referring to in these lines is the wealth of happiness and mental peace that he derives from the scenic beauty of the daffodils. Now, the question, what kind of poetic device is this? I think in the previous class I have mentioned it. The poetic device being used in this stanza is metaphor. Is metaphor. Next comes, why does the poet refer to it as wealth? The poet refers to the scene as wealth because it provides him with invaluable moments of joy during many of his lonely moments and pensive moods that he finds himself in. Next, when does the poet feel blissful? These are all important questions. When does the poet feel blissful? The poet feels blissful while recalling about the time he spent watching the daffodils fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Next question, why does the poet refer to it as being a blissful state? Why does the poet refer to it as being a blissful state? The answer is solitude means the state of being lonely and in general sense can't be blissful. But for the poet, it is blissful because the delightful sight of the daffodils flashes upon his mind during his loneliness and fills his heart with pleasure. That's why. That's why the poet referred to it as being a blissful state. Had the poet realized the importance of the scene when he had first seen it? Had the poet realized the importance of the scene when he had first seen it? Give reasons for your answer. Let us see what is the answer. The poet acknowledged the fact that despite gazing at the daffodils for a long time, he had failed to realize what wealth he was gaining by the sight. At that time, it was just a pretty scene, and he did not know that even in future The recollection of this view would give him joy and peace. Understood? So this is about the poem Daffodils. Now, students, after going through the classes, what is your opinion about the poem and how far you have understood it? How can I know? In the last class, that means in the previous class, I gave you a homework. How many of you have answered this? I think one or two students responded, and the rest haven't. So please, while I am giving you something, that means there is some reason. And if you want to score good marks, respond quickly to my questions. And it's your job to finish your home task in time. So make it a habit and send the answer. Whatever you have understood, just send it to me. Then we can discuss on it. And in this way, we can understand any any point or any issue better and better. So I hope that you will take my advice in consideration and do accordingly. With that hope, here I conclude and see you in the next class. Thank you.